Esther 9:20-32. Today's reading describes the origin of the festival of Purim, an annual celebration to commemorate the triumph of the Jewish people over the enemies. Mordecai, Esther's cousin, who had become a high official in the king's court, writes a letter to all the Jews with instructions for observing the festival. They were told to observe these days with feasts and parties, giving gifts of food to one another and to the poor. The festival of Purim. Mordecai had these events written down and sent letters to all the Jews, near and far, throughout the Persian Empire, telling them to observe the 14th and 15th day of Adar as holidays every year. These were the days on which the Jews had rid themselves of their enemies. This was a month that had been turned from a time of grief and despair into a time of joy and happiness. They were told to observe these days with feasts and parties, giving gifts of food to one another and to the poor. So the Jews followed Mordecai's instructions, and the celebration became an annual custom. Haman, son of Hammedatha, the descendant of Agag and the enemy of the Jewish people, had cast lots, Purims they were called, to determine the day for destroying the Jews. He had planned to wipe them out, but Esther went to the king, and the king issued written orders, with the result that Haman suffered the fate that he has planned for the Jews. He and his sons were hanged from the gallows. That is why the holidays are called Purim, because Mordecai's letter and because of all that had happened to them. The Jews made it a rule for themselves, their descendants, and anyone who might become a Jew, that at the proper time each year these 2 days would be regularly observed according to Mordecai's instructions. It was resolved that every Jewish family of every future generation in every province and every city should remember and observe the days of Purim for all time to come. Then Queen Esther, the daughter of Abihail, along with Mordecai, also wrote a letter putting her full authority behind the letter about Purim, which Mordecai had written earlier. The letter was addressed to all the Jews, and copies were sent to all the 127 provinces of the Persian Empire. It wished the Jews peace and security, and directed them and their descendants to observe the days of Purim at the proper time, just as they had adopted rules for the observance of fasts and times of mourning. This was commanded by both Mordecai and Queen Esther. Esther's command confirming the rules for Purim was written down on a scroll. That they were to give gifts to one another and to the poor. Um, 20-23. Okay, so they were to observe with feasts and parties, giving up gifts of food to one another and to the poor. Yeah. Okay. So the reason for Purim is that Haman casted lot to wipe out the Jews, but instead Haman and his son actually suffered the fate that he has planned for the Jews. Is that reason? So we celebrate Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and Good Friday. Yeah, pretty much those are the events that we celebrate. But we do know that Christmas probably isn't the day that Christ was actually born. That we know. And yeah. Oh, 4th of July, but that's not really a religious holiday. But it's a big day in the church, and the church do stuff to celebrate it. Amen.